The hidden enemy of peace. Your untrained mind. You've probably been told this story your whole life. That happiness comes after success. That peace is waiting for you. Once you've got the dream job, the perfect relationship, the house, the savings, the six-pack, the fully optimized morning routine. But here's the problem. Why do so many people who have all of that still feel restless? Why do they lay in bed at night, exhausted, but unable to sleep? Why do they feel like something's always missing? Like the peace they were promised is still one step away? The truth is simple, but most people never hear it. Happiness doesn't come from what you chase. It comes from what you train. More specifically, your mind. Most people walk through life with an untrained mind, and that's the real reason they feel stuck, anxious, reactive, or just tired all the time. Because your brain has been absorbing chaos without ever learning how to let it go. You go through your day collecting stress like sticky notes, conversations you replay, mistakes you regret, worries about what might happen next. And when the day ends, your body tries to rest. But your mind, it's still working overtime. That's the hidden enemy of peace, a mind that doesn't know how to shut down. The Stoics knew this 2,000 years ago, and they developed something most people today have never even heard of. A practice that reclaims your peace and rewires your brain, especially before sleep. It's called the nightly review. Marcus Aurelius did it, Seneca did it, Epictetus taught it. It's a simple but powerful mental ritual you do at the end of the day. Not to punish yourself, not to chase perfection, but to build a mind that gets stronger each night instead of more cluttered. Let me break it down for you. Step 1. What did I do well today? This question is not about bragging. It's about training your mind to acknowledge progress. Because if you don't, your default setting will become self-criticism. Your brain will get better at noticing flaws and failures while completely ignoring the things you're doing right. So you start here. You remind yourself that progress is happening even when it's small. Step 2. What could I have done better? Here's the key. This isn't about guilt. It's not about wallowing in regret or beating yourself up. It's about honest feedback. It's how you build self-awareness without turning it into self-hatred. Think of it like being your own coach, not your worst critic. Step 3. What will I improve tomorrow? This question does something important. It gives your brain a sense of direction before bed. It's a mental signal that says, I've reviewed the day, I've learned what I needed to. Now I'm ready to rest. And here's where it gets interesting. When you ask your brain a clear question before sleep, your subconscious actually works on it overnight. It processes. It connects dots. That's why so many people wake up with random clarity in the morning. It's not random. It's the result of structured mental input the night before. But here's the thing. Most people don't do this. They go to sleep in a mental mess, replaying what went wrong, what they wish they said, scrolling mindlessly, getting hit with 5-second emotional triggers they never process. Then they wonder why they wake up tired, why they keep feeling stuck, why their mind is constantly looping through thoughts that don't serve them. They never close the day. And if you don't close the day stays open in your mind. It bleeds into your rest. It becomes background noise in your dreams, and it piles up day after day after day. That's why the nightly review isn't just about journaling. It's about mental closure. The Stoics treated it like brushing their teeth, but for the mind. Every night they would reflect. Not to punish themselves, but to organize the clutter. They understood something most people don't. If you don't train your mind to shut down, it won't, and you'll start to feel it. In your sleep, in your energy, in your ability to focus, in the weight you carry, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. But there's good news. The mind is plastic. It's moldable. Neuroscience confirms what the Stoics practiced intuitively. Your brain strengthens what it repeats. So if you repeat stress, you become an expert in anxiety. But if you repeat deliberate reflection, your brain gets better at letting go. It becomes more emotionally intelligent, more focused, more resilient. The Stoics weren't perfect. They didn't claim to be, but they practiced something rare: consistent introspection. And that's what set them apart. Even Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire, he still took time each night to examine his own thoughts, to ask himself, where did I lose control today? What story did I tell myself that wasn't true? How can I show up better tomorrow? Not because he wanted to be perfect, but because he knew peace isn't found. Peace is built. And if you want to build it, you have to make it a habit. You have to close the day with intention, even just for 5 minutes, because if you don't, your mind will drag yesterday's chaos into tomorrow's opportunities. Let me put it like this. If you don't close the tabs on your mental browser, you'll keep running into the background. You'll feel slow, foggy, emotionally tired, even when your body is rested. And that becomes your default state. But it doesn't have to be. What if every night, instead of crashing into bed with overstimulation and noise, you ended the day with clarity? What if the last thing your mind heard before sleep was not a tick-tock, or a worry, or a random memory, but a conscious thought of direction? What if the thought before sleep was, today I showed up, I learned, I saw where I slipped, and I know how I'll rise tomorrow? That one thought, repeated over time, changes everything. Not instantly, but gradually, quietly, deliberately, and soon, your sleep gets deeper, your mornings get lighter, and your life starts moving forward, not by chance, but by design. So if you're tired of feeling mentally exhausted, if you're tired of going to bed with case and waking up with the start here. 3 questions, 5 minutes. Every night, that's all it takes to begin training your mind. Not to be perfect, but to be at peace, and tomorrow, you'll feel the difference. Rewire your brain for resilience and rest. Here's something no one ever taught you in school. Your brain is programmable, not in a robotic way, but in a quiet, subtle, powerful way. It remembers what you feed it. It listens to what you focus on. And over time, it builds your entire mental operating system based on that input. The Stoics understood this centuries ago, without neuroscience, without brain scans. They just observed human nature. And what they found was this: your mind becomes what you rehearse. So if every night you rehearse worry, you become an expert at anxiety. If every night you rehearse chaos, you become reactive, you become fragile, you stay stuck. But here's the twist. If you rehearse peace, you get stronger. If you rehearse challenge, you get calmer. If you rehearse hardship, you become resilient. This is where the Stoic practice of negative visualization comes in. Now, I know it sounds counterintuitive. Why would anyone sit and imagine things going wrong? But that's the genius. Negative visualization isn't about expecting the worst, it's about preparing for it. You visualize loss, discomfort, setbacks, not to attract them, but to build a mindset that doesn't break when they come. Because let's be honest, they will come. Jobs get lost, relationships end, plans fall apart, people disappoint you. And if your peace depends on everything going smoothly, then your peace is already doomed. But the Stoics flipped the script. They trained themselves to mentally rehearse adversity, and as a result, they were rarely surprised and never shattered. Seneca wrote about this often. He said, he robs present ills of their power who has already rehearsed their coming. Think about that. What if every night, instead of obsessing over what might happen, you strategically visualize what could go wrong? You pictured it, you accepted it, and then you asked yourself, if this happens, how would I respond? That's not fear, that's mental training. It's building a calm, grounded response before life demands it. Let me give you a modern example. Let's say you're running a business or you're creating content, you're building something, and there's a launch coming or a big interview or an important pitch. Instead of just hoping it goes well, try this. Sit down the night before and ask, what could block me tomorrow? What might fail? What am I assuming that could fall apart? Not to psych yourself out, but to prepare your mind. That way, when something does go sideways, you don't panic, you don't crumble, you just say, I saw this coming, I know what to do. This is resilience. And resilience isn't born, it's built. But here's the thing, you can't build it on noise. Which brings us to another core principle the Stoics live by. Letting go is a skill. And most people, they never learn it. They carry every unresolved conversation, every minor conflict, every piece of emotional residue straight into bed with them. They fall asleep with their fists clenched, their jaw tight, and their mind racing. But letting go isn't about pretending problems don't exist. It's not about spiritual bypassing or ignoring emotions. It's about discernment. It's about knowing what's in my control and what isn't. Because let's be real, most of what keeps you up at night, it's not stuff you can solve at 1 a.m. It's mental replays. It's arguments that already happened. It's fears about things that haven't. The Stoics taught if it's within your control, plan for it. If it's not, release it. That's it. They practiced what's now called the dichotomy of control, and it changed how they slept, how they lived, and how they handled adversity. Let me show you a simple way to apply it. Before bed, take one worry that's lingering, just one, and ask, can I act on this right now? Is this within my control tonight? If the answer is no, let it go. Not forever, but for now, because your brain can't process everything at once, and when it tries, it burns out. Sleep isn't just about closing your eyes, it's about closing mental tabs. And here's a powerful tool to help with that. Silence. Not just quiet, but real intentional stillness. In the ancient world, the Stoics sought it out. Even Marcus Aurelius, ruling the Roman Empire, made time for solitude. But today, we drown in noise. Think about it. The moment most people stop working, they start scrolling. More content, more news, more opinions, more stimulus, until the mind is flooded, overstimulated, twitchy. Then we wonder why we can't sleep. The brain doesn't just turn off because your body's tired. It needs a signal, a transition, a boundary. Silence is that signal. But most people avoid it because silence makes them confront themselves. That's why the Stoics train themselves to sit with stillness, to stop feeding the mind random input, and instead guide it. Because when you stop reacting to the external world, you finally start hearing your internal one, and that's where peace begins. Now, here's the final piece of the puzzle in this section. If you want to really rewire your brain, you don't just need to clear the noise. You need to replace it with something better. This is where the Stoics were brilliant. They understood that the last thought before sleep is one of the most powerful thoughts of the day, because your subconscious doesn't sleep like your body does. It keeps processing. It keeps listening. So whatever you feed it right before bed, that's what it starts to reinforce. If your last thought is fear, frustration, or comparison, you're basically programming your subconscious to run that all night. But if your last thought is strength, clarity, gratitude, direction, that's what grows. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself every night, I control my mind, not the world, not the noise, not the randomness, me. So here's a tip. Before you sleep, choose one dominant thought. Make it simple, clear, personal. It could be, I am becoming stronger each day. Nothing outside of me controls my peace. Tomorrow I will meet difficulty with calm. Repeat it, let it sink in. Do this for 10 nights and you'll feel a shift. Do it for 30 and your brain starts to believe it. Do it for a year and you become it. That's the power of repetition. That's how you reprogram your default state. Not through hustle, not through some app, not through 20-step morning routines or 5 a.m. cold plunges, but through quiet, consistent mental discipline, especially in the last few minutes of your day. That's when the noise stops. That's when the training begins. That's when your mind gets stronger while the world goes quiet. The morning of a Stoic, wake up with purpose. The way you wake up shapes your entire day, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, even spiritually. And yet, most people start their morning the same way they ended their night, with noise. Think about it. What's the first thing most people do? They reach for their phones, check messages, scroll headlines, tap into the world's chaos before their own thoughts even get a chance to breathe. And in those first few minutes, before you've taken a full breath, before you've grounded yourself, your peace is already gone, hijacked by someone else's urgency, by someone else's agenda, by dopamine, drama, distraction. But it doesn't have to be that way. The Stoics believed the morning was sacred, not because of productivity, not because of hustle, but because how you enter the day determines how you respond to life. And when you enter it mindlessly, you leave yourself unguarded. Your values get blurry. Your direction weakens. You spend your energy reacting instead of responding. So what did the Stoics do differently? They practiced something simple but profound. A morning reflection, a short, intentional moment before the world got in. No distractions, no apps, no self-optimization nonsense. Just presence. Let me walk you through it. Begin the morning as if it were your first and your last. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." That sounds poetic, right? But it's also intensely practical. It trains the brain to see the day not as a burden, but a gift. And the Stoics didn't say that lightly. They knew life was fragile. They knew you're not owed another sunrise. So if it comes, let it humble you. Let it ground you. Let it pull you out of whatever false urgency you are carrying. Here's a practice. When you wake up, don't say I have to. Say I get to. I get to move. I get to try again. I get to meet this moment fully, even if it's difficult. That one shift, it changes the tone of your entire day. 2, anchor your attention before the world pulls it away. We live in a world that profits off your distraction. That doesn't care about your mental clarity. That thrives when you're scattered, overwhelmed, comparing. But clarity? Clarity is a daily choice. And the Stoics made that choice every morning. They would sit, even briefly, and remind themselves of who they are and how they want to show up. That's not self-help fluff, that's strategy. Because if you don't set your intention, the world will set it for you. Try this. Before you touch your phone, before you start checking anything, sit still just for 2 minutes and ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be today? Where might I be tested? How will I respond, not react, when things go wrong? This practice isn't about scripting your day perfectly. It's about priming your values. So when challenges come, and they always do, you don't default to panic. You return to purpose. 3, review the 4 virtues, your internal compass. The Stoics didn't believe in rigid rules. They believed in virtues, principles that guide your actions when life gets messy. There are 4 of them: wisdom, seeing things clearly; courage, doing what's right even when it's hard; temperance, self-restraint; balance, justice, fairness, integrity, care for others. These aren't ancient relics, they're modern anchors. And reviewing them in the morning is like calibrating your compass. Here's a simple method. Pick 1 virtue per day, just 1. And ask, how can I embody this today? For example, wisdom, I will pause before reacting. Courage, I will say what needs to be said, kindly. Temperance, I will not let cravings dictate my focus. Justice, I will treat others with the same grace I wish for. It's not about being perfect, it's about being intentional. Because how you show up, moment by moment, becomes who you are over time. 4, create a space free from noise, just for the first 20 minutes. No news, no scrolling, no email, just silence, stillness, a slow return to yourself. You'd be surprised what happens when your brain gets 20 minutes of peace before it's hit with the world. You remember your priorities. You start solving problems in your head before you even open your laptop. You feel less rushed, less performative, because you're not reacting from FOMO or fear. Your nervous system stays grounded, and from that grounded place, you make better decisions. Wiser ones, more humane ones. That's not a hack. That's what the Stoics called living in accordance with nature. Your nature. Not the algorithm, not the inbox, not the metrics, but your values, your mind, your soul. 5. End with a commitment, not a checklist. This last step is easy to skip, but powerful. End your morning reflection with 1 sentence, 1 promise, not to the world, to yourself. Something like, today I choose stillness over speed. Today I will respond with patience, not pride. Today I won't outsource my peace to anyone. Write it down, say it aloud, feel it in your body. It's not a magic spell, it's a mental contract. One you can return to when the day tests you. Because the truth is, it will test you. You'll get cut off in traffic. You will be misunderstood. Something won't go as planned. But if you've already prepared your mind, if you've already made peace your priority, then even in the noise, you stay steady. Even in pressure, you stay present. That's what the Stoics trained for. Not a life without problems, but a mind that doesn't collapse when problems arrive. And that starts every single day with the first few moments. So now, you've got the blueprint. Nightly reflection to release the day. Mental rehearsal to build resilience. Morning clarity to anchor your purpose. This isn't a lifestyle trend. It's not about aesthetic routines or motivational buzzwords. It's about building an inner foundation that doesn't shake. It's about reclaiming your mind in a world that's trying to hijack it. It's about training peace, because peace isn't passive. It's something you create through intention, through repetition, through small but meaningful choices. So tonight, ask yourself those 3 questions. Before bed, choose your final thought. And tomorrow when you wake up, don't just dive into the noise. Begin with stillness. Begin with virtue. Begin as a Stoic. And over time you'll see, your sleep will deepen. Your reactions will soften. Your clarity will return. And you'll stop chasing peace like a destination. You'll start living it, one breath, one choice, one quiet morning at a time.